will be read by the Minister of Higher Education, Science and Innovation, Dr. Blade Nzimande, who today is supported by the Deputy Minister, Anamela, and the Director General, Dr. Nkosinathi Sishi. We do have in our midst the leadership of the National Student Financial Aid Scheme, led by the chairperson, Mr. Kosa, and the CEO, Mr. Nongoko. We also have in our midst the leadership of the department, the DDGs, chief directors, and also some entity CEOs that have joined us. We recognize you all. Thank you very much. Of importance is yourself, members of the media. Our media briefing will be in two forms. It will be the statement that will be presented by the minister. Then we'll take question and answers from members of the media. And lastly, we'll provide you with very critical contact details of various institutions that will make sure that respond to the issues that will be raised after this media briefing. This includes what CASH will be doing, NSF, NSFAS, and so on and so forth. So we'll share those details. So it's a three-part media briefing. Thank you very much. Without any further ado, let me call the minister to read the statement for us. Then we'll follow with the other programs. As housekeeping matters, can we also ensure that our cell phones are off because we are having live broadcasts from various public broadcasters, and we also have our colleagues that are joining us online through our various social media platforms. Thank you very much. Minister, over to you.
Okay. Ishmael, it's a clash now between technology and the mics. The physical and the electronic. Clash between the email and the Gmail. Thank you very much. That's very helpful. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much. Let me start by thanking the program director, Mr. Ishmael Mnisi, who is my media liaison officer. Let me greet our Deputy Minister, Mr. Putimanamela, the DG of the Department of Higher Education and Training, Dr. Nkosinathi Sishi, all our Deputy Directors General who are present here, the Chairperson of the Board of NSFAS, Mr. Ernest Kosa, and the CEO of NSFAS, Mr. Andile Nongoko, and all other chairpersons and CEO of all our other entities who are either here with us or have joined us electronically or on our platforms. Let me also greet all the chancellors, vice chancellors, TVET and CET principals, trade unions that are organized in our sector, all our student formations, members of the media, fellow South Africans. We welcome you all to our first media briefing of the year 2023. I call this briefing to share with the public, all South Africans, our readiness for the opening of the 2023 post-school education and training academic year. Allow me to take this opportunity to congratulate the 2022 matric class for attaining 80.1% national matric pass rate. I'm happy that 65% of the 219,597 distinctions obtained by the matriculants were in critical subjects such as accounting, business studies, economics, mathematics, and physical science. This means that we are systematically addressing all imperatives related to the social justice principles, especially equity and redress. I also welcome the good news that out of the 2022 matric class, 278,815 achieved a bachelor entry pass, 197,357 achieved a diploma pass, and 108,159 achieved a higher certificate pass. This is despite the fact that this class faced enormous challenges due to the COVID-19 pandemic and load shedding. I must indicate that the matric pass rates for each province will be a helpful planning instrument for the post-school education and training sector for the further allocation of resources, particularly for our technical vocational education and training sector and our community colleges. Let me also congratulate our post-school education and training students who also wrote their 2022 exams at our various TVET colleges, community colleges and universities. I also wish to take this opportunity to also urge those who have not successfully completed the requirements for their 2022 matric program not to give up, but to work to improve their education and training in order to improve their life chances and career prospects in a changing world. Our post-school education and training system offers a range of differentiated pathways to students who have finished school, whether they've passed or not, including opportunities for training, learnerships, and internships. Our skills development system will be offering more opportunities through our SETAs, including but not limited to learnerships, which will provide both theory and practical workplace training, including apprenticeships, as well as in artisanal trades. May I also take this opportunity to further pass our condolences to men and women, both students and staff that we lost in our sector for various reasons. Our thoughts are with their families, friends, and colleagues. Some of the recent incidents, of course, include the assassination of Mr. Mboneli Vesele, the Executive Protection Officer at the University of Fort Hare, and the killing of Mabuto Jenamo, a community education college student who was attending his classes at Reneilwe Community Learning Center in Mamelodi East in Gauteng. Ladies and gentlemen, before I provide further details on our state of readiness, which is the purpose of this briefing, for the year 2023, let me indicate that our sector is working on a sector-based strategy and a plan to respond to the negative impact of load shedding and the resurgence of COVID-19 Omicron subvariant named Kraken, or known as Kraken. I will also briefly share our response on gender-based violence with the PSET sector, post-school education and training. On load shedding, many are rightly concerned about the impact of load shedding for our sector. Based on the data submitted by universities, for instance, it is clear that there are different strategies being considered by our universities. Both my departments of higher education and training, as well as the Department of Science and Innovation, will be establishing a working group consisting of our universities and TVET colleges to ensure that an inclusive approach is adopted to allow for collective beneficiation from the local intellectual property efforts that have been developed by our Department of Science and Innovation and its entities. I will update the public on these efforts following the conclusion of our internal consultation processes as part of dealing with load shedding, the negative impact of load shedding. On the COVID-19 Kraken variant, similarly, we are also working with institutions in our sector to monitor and manage public health protocols as advised by the Department of Health to ensure maximum safety on our campuses and sites of learning. Over the last 3 years, Higher Health, our entity that is assisting us with staff and student wellness in our institutions, has played an instrumental role within the context of the policies of both the Department of Higher Education and Training and the Department of Health towards putting in place protocols, procedures, systems and capacity to deal with the COVID-19 pandemic. All these instruments remain active should we need to apply them in response to this new variant. On gender-based violence, we have noted incidents of gender-based violence on campuses, and this has in many cases resulted in female students being brutally killed. Brutal murder of Noscelo Mtebeni from Forte, Uyinene Mkhwetjana, from Cape Town, Precious Ramabulana, Gisehes, and many more others highlight the vulnerability of female students to gender-based violence. All our institutions working with higher health seek to provide safe workplaces and learning spaces for all staff and students in our institutions. Higher health is currently implementing programs towards addressing the challenges of sexual and gender-based violence within the PSET system. These programs are aligned to the DHET's policy framework to address gender-based violence in the post-school education and training system. Through Higher Health, we have established a multi-sectoral post-school education and training gender-based violence technical task team chaired by Professor Nkabula of UNISA to ensure the effective implementation of this policy framework to fight gender-based violence. In addition, I have established a ministerial task team to fight sexual harassment and gender-based violence in the university sector. This ministerial task team is chaired by Professor Sibongile Mutwa, the Vice-Chancellor of the Nelson Mandela University. The report of the ministerial task team was submitted to me for consideration, and I will soon be releasing it to the public. As part of dealing with gender-based violence in our institutions, I will also be launching a very important initiative called, guided by UNESCO by the way, called Transforming Mentalities Initiative, which will be a multi-stakeholder partnership within our sector, whose particular focus will be on mobilizing men to be part of championing a world free of gender biases, stereotypes, discrimination, as well as working towards a world free of gender-based violence. We're raising these matters because we can't say we will start and have a successful academic year without also ensuring that our struggle to defeat gender-based violence, for instance, is also in place, because this is negatively affecting the participation of women in our sector. On TVET education, just starting very quickly on 2022 TVET exams, for our 2022 National Certificate Vocational Levels 2 to 4, a total of 166,184 students enrolled for exams, out of which 133,442 wrote the November 2022 examinations. Although the total number of candidates who wrote the 2022 exams decreased by 4,909, which is 3.7%, compared to the cohort that wrote the examination in 2021. This, of course, is a matter of concern to the ministry, as our country needs much greater throughput from this crucial sector. Our report also indicates that more female candidates, 72.1%, participated in the November 22 exams than male candidates, who were at 27.9%. Of course, what this illustrates is that we are doing well in affirming women, but I must say I'm beginning to be concerned at what seems to be an ongoing decline in male participation in our programs. Affirmation of women must not be translated to mean allowing our men to be left behind. It's absolutely necessary to address gender inequalities, but also to leave men behind, and that their participation declines is something that requires our attention, which will be part of the efforts that I will be launching this year. Our TVET candidates in the 15 to 18-year-old age group represented only 1.5%, while those in the 19 to 24 age group made up 64.7%, and the candidates in the 25 plus age group comprised 33.7%. Now, this is important for us for the TVET College because we are covering a wider range of young people as well as young adults, by the way. The distribution of candidates according to age groups has been stable over the period of 2 years, and insofar as the student percentage distribution per province in 2022, to give you an idea, of all those who wrote exams in our TVET sector, 21.8% were from KwaZulu-Natal, followed by Gauteng at 19.9%, followed by Limpopo at 17.2%, followed by the Eastern Cape at 12.4%. The lowest percentage of those who wrote was recorded in the Free State with 4.9% and followed by Northern Cape at 0.9%. We had a total of 898,901 subject entries enrolled for the November 2022 National Certificate Vocational Exam, which decreased by approximately 4.6% compared to those who wrote in November 2021. On the engineering report, what are called the N programs, a total of 218,262 candidate subject entries were enrolled for the November 22 exams. The number of candidate subject entries enrolled for the 2022 exams increased by 31,419, 14.4% compared to those of 2021. Now, just a little bit of focus on how we suggest that those who have got queries about their TVET college exams, what they should do. To lodge any TVET exam or certification-related inquiry, the exam centers and all candidates are encouraged to make use of the DHET exams e-query solution for colleges on www.eservices.gov.za. www.eservices.gov.za. The main benefits of this solution, amongst others, for exam centers and candidates is that it can manage their queries and so that they are able to deal with them. I would also like to appeal to all our prospective students who are still seeking spaces within our TVET colleges for entry-level programs to contact their colleges of choice for available enrollment spaces for the academic year 2023. Our colleges are still open for this, and please do reach out to your college of choice for purposes of getting admitted. With the final set of results received on the 17th January 2022, commencement TVET college classes have commenced on the 23rd, that is yesterday, Monday 23rd, for those who received results on the 17th of January. The number of enrollments in our TVET colleges, we are planning for 2023 to enroll 497,032 for the ministerial approved programs, with additional 59,383 headcount enrollment for programs that are funded through other funding sources, thus bringing the total planned TVET enrollment for the academic year 2023 to 556,450. An important number, but we must admit, still far less than the need we have for TVET college entries and numbers for our country. We acknowledge the fact that, as I say, this figure is substantially lower for us to attain the 2.5 million student enrollment plan in TVET colleges by 2030, as projected by the National Development Plan. We are, however, working hard with our plans to ensure that we accelerate the growth of our TVET sector. In fact, we are very proud that the image towards TVET colleges is definitely changing in our country. It's no longer those TVET colleges being looked down upon. Many of our students now register for TVET college programs. That's why our colleges are always full to the brink. Let me also indicate that we are standardizing our registration and admission processes in our TVET colleges to do away with different processes which have been used by our different colleges. This will include standardization in the processes of issuing certificates. The standardization process will also help us in the migration from manual to online registration processes in all our TVET colleges. We have also witnessed student growth on several colleges who have now begun to embrace the use of technology in their enrollment processes and reducing the number of walk-ins in TVET colleges. An interesting factor is that Limpopo actually is a leading province in terms of using online registration, which begins to tell us that sometimes we are just biased against rural provinces. How come that a province as rural as Limpopo is actually leading in online registration, which means that there is something happening there that we must build on, that young people are doing, which also other young people from other provinces possibly can be able to do, because many of them have got access to smartphones these days. 10 of our colleges, also TVET colleges, will be introducing a new program in robotics in this academic year. This is part of our curriculum transformation strategy for the TVET sector in ensuring that our colleges remain responsive to the needs of a changing economy. Let me come to university education now. University registration for the academic year 2023 commenced from the 16th of January and is expected to close on the 20th of February. However, there will be several of our universities that will allow late registrations. To say so does not mean that then people who want to go to these universities must then relax. Because if you relax, you may lose an opportunity. These universities include Cape Peninsula University of Technology, Durban University of Technology, Mangosuthu University of Technology, Rhodes University, University of Fort Hare, Walter Sisulu University, Tswana University of Technology, and University of Zululand. These are amongst the universities that will allow late registration. Prospective students are advised to continue to liaise with universities of their choice through their communication channels. On 2023 university enrollment, the overall total enrollments within the public university sector for the 2023 academic year is projected to provide 1,112,439 spaces. That is an additional 41,545 spaces. See, my arithmetic teachers did well. I just don't struggle with numbers at all. You know? This is an increment from the 1,070,894 in the 2022 academic year. This illustrates that our university sector is steadily growing. In terms of the gender profile of our enrollments, from the 2021 audited data, we have 655,427 female and 412,428 male students. Again, advancement and affirmation of women is something that we must wholeheartedly welcome. But still the concern is the continuing drop in participation by male students, continuing decline, something that also needs attention. In the 2023 academic year, our first-time entering enrollments have been projected at 208,299 nationally. 69,069 of these first-time entering enrollments will be within scarce skills areas and have been projected as follows. That we are going to be admitting 17,085 students into engineering, 17,584 into life and physical sciences, 985 into animal sciences, 209 into veterinary sciences, 10,418 into human health, and then 22,788 into teacher education. A considerable portion of the spaces within scarce skills areas require a national senior certificate mathematics mark of at least 60%. And we don't have nearly as enough with every cohort of matriculants, 60% minimum pass for maths and science. As a result, through my Department of Science and Innovation, we've developed collaborations with the Department of Basic Education as well as with the provincial departments of education to support math, science, and technology education. This intervention will ensure that we increase the number of learners passing grade 12 in mathematics, science, and technology education. To ensure that the entire public sector university system is developed, we are intensifying the implementation of the University Capacity Development Program to improve student success, quality of teaching and learning, including research, and to support curriculum renewal in all our universities. Last year, I also launched the Professor Sibusiso Pengu Development Program to strengthen our historically disadvantaged universities. And we are very pleased that the first Minister of Education in a democratic South Africa, Professor Pengu, accepted that we use his name, kindly accepted that, and he also came to the launch of this program in Durban last year. In this regard, we also urge students to also consider the TVET colleges as an option, but not as the last option. Because TVET colleges do programs that are only offered at TVET college program, and we want to make these TVET colleges colleges of choice. We have also started considering the blended learning mode as an alternative to accommodate more students. What do we mean by this? We are going to be increasingly combining teaching and learning through physical contacts as well as teaching and learning through online distance methodologies. In this regard, I have commissioned the Council on Higher Education to conduct a study on this blended learning. This mode of delivery will enable more access to higher education. This may assist with achieving the National Development Plan goal of 1.62 million enrollments in our universities by 2030. Having said that, I must applaud our universities for their achievement in exceeding the targets for the veterinary science, animal sciences, and teacher education areas. Well done to our universities for this achievement. The Central Applications Clearinghouse, CATCH as we call it, this is another initiative that we have introduced, but we are now also fairly advanced in introducing something called Central Application Service System, a system where a student will only apply once, one application indicating choices of institutions and not doing these multiple applications as they are being done now. We call this the CAS system. CAS is central to improving data management for enrollments and is at an advanced stage. We have now entered the piloting stage to stress test this central application system to see if it works. 5 universities have participated in the pilot phase. They include the Tshwane University of Technology, Sefako Makgatho Health Sciences University, Vaal University of Technology, University of Limpopo, and the University of the Western Cape. The next piloting phase will include Rhodes University, Northwest University, and the Central University of Technology. To further enable access to all our institutions, we will be opening our Central Applications Clearinghouse, the CATCH, on the 27th January 2023, following the release of the National Senior Certificate results. CATCH will close on the 31st of March 2023, and the services are available from Monday to Friday between 8 to 6 p.m. and Saturday from 8 to 2 p.m. To remind ourselves, the Central Application Clearinghouse is for use by students who are seeking to enroll in particular programs, such that if your university of choice does not have the program or we have not been accepted, you go to CATCH, which will tell you which other institutions still have spaces in the program that you want to do. This is a system that has helped many students to find institutions which may not necessarily have been their institutions of first choice, but at least to find institutions where they can do programs of their choice. Community colleges. Our community colleges reopened on the 11th of January 2023 for inland provinces and on the 18th of January 2023 for coastal provinces. I'm delighted to report that through our community colleges this year, we'll be introducing a new program on civic education. The civic education program will teach the importance of protecting and supporting South Africa's democracy and fostering better understanding of citizens' roles and responsibilities, fostering values of our Constitution, and acting together in solidarity as communities. And some of the topics covered will include human rights, constitutional rights, voting as a right and responsibility, countering racism, patriarchy, stigma, and discrimination. Community colleges, I'm pleased to say, also offer the senior matric and the second chance matric program for those learners who may have failed grade 12 or learners who wish to improve some of their grade 12 subjects. This we do in partnership with the Department of Basic Education. We will also be progressively introducing skills, occupational learnerships, and non-formal programs through funding support from the National Skills Fund and from our SETAs. Lastly, but also even more important, our community colleges will now be introducing a digital literacy program as part of the National Electronic Media Institute of South Africa, NEMISA, which is an entity of the Department of Communications and Digital Technologies, which will then partner also to work with our community college lecturers. This is very important. We are now changing the old adult education system, which was only focusing on academic programs, to also now include skills programs for people who had left school early or never finished school who wish to improve by acquiring a particular skills. We also have, having spoken about TVET colleges, our universities and community colleges, we also have a variety of what we call skills development programs, which we urge our matriculants and all other South Africans who wish to acquire a skill to consider. Our skills development system has planned for the current financial year to open about 107,000 workplace-based learning opportunities, inclusive of learnerships in various sectors of our economy during this financial year. We are planning to increase these workplace-based learning opportunities from the 1st of April 2023 to 110,500 to benefit in the main our young people, those between the ages of 15 to 24 years old. Our matriculation class of 2022, I would like to suggest, will greatly benefit in these interventions. Currently, our target on skills programs in various sectors of the economy is to have 148,000 beneficiaries. This target will be increased from 1st of April this year to 149,000. Currently, for those entering artisanal trades, which are very important skills, we have targeted 22,000 beneficiaries, which will be increased from the 1st of April to 23,000 beneficiaries. These artisanal programs are very important. We need plumbers, we need welders, we need electricians, we need constructors, builders in numbers in South Africa. in order to be able to fight against unemployment, especially youth unemployment, and to grow and develop our economy. Central to the National Skills Fund, Skills Development Funding Program for the 2023-2024 financial year will be the acceleration of skills development funding through massification of skills training opportunities in agriculture, in digital and information technology programs, as well as skills in support of small business development and entrepreneurship. And we'll be doing this in partnership with other government departments. The National Skills Fund will be upscaling and releasing more money into these programs so that we are able to reach as many people, South Africans, as possible, especially young people. All these programs will also be coordinated through the district development model. We are also offering skills development programs in particular districts, which is aimed at supporting development of those districts through skills provision. We are also on track in funding artisan development programs, and the National Skills Fund, over and above the SETAs, will also continue to fund these opportunities. The National Skills Fund will also post new requests for proposals from qualifying skills development providers to carry out and support the placement of learners for work-integrated learning, in particular targeting those of our young people who are not in education, not in employment, not in training. All these skills development funding efforts will release an estimated 3 billion rands from the National Skills Fund to support beneficiaries in agriculture, digital and information technology programs, as well as skills for small business development. These investments exclude our investment in artisan development. Let me also take this opportunity to once more send my warning to unsuspecting students and parents to be aware of what we call bogus colleges. We no longer use fly-by-night because it's got some other connotations in some provinces like Mhlabialingana and KZN and Limpopo, flying by night. So we don't want to use that. It's bogus colleges which mislead members of the public through false promising advertisements which illegally promise to be offering both nationally and internationally recognized qualifications. I request the public to be vigilant and not fall for fake operators who are not registered and recognized by the South African Qualifications Authority or our department. We urge all parents and students to check on registered colleges on our DHET website, which is www.det.gov.za. On student debt, before now I provide details on the next very important matter, which is the National Student Financial Aid Scheme. We're talking about it towards the end, not because it's less important, but because now, having said this is what we offer, then we're going to say, how then do we plan to fund that, to support especially students from working class and poor background. But before I talk about that, I just want to indicate that the extent of student debt in our country poses a serious threat to future sustainability of our higher education institutions. Current student debt is at about 16.5 billion rand, and this cost of debt is about 1.5 billion per annum, money that could be directed towards infrastructure development and or growing our academic system. This is the reason why we are working hard to conclude the consultations on the comprehensive student funding model that I was asked by Cabinet to develop, and which we've got a report now of the ministerial task team, and we're just concluding consultations on that with the aim of going back to Cabinet to hopefully adopt a comprehensive student funding model by the end of the current financial year, or not very late in the new financial year. In the interim, NSFAS has agreed with all our institutions to allow all the confirmed NSFAS-funded students to register for the 2023 academic year. This arrangement also applies to all students who qualify under the historic debt funds and close-out reports. What does this mean? All NSFAS funded students will register without having to pay anything upfront as we start 2023 academic year. This a commitment to a caring government like our government. And in fact, this is one of the most important achievements by this government to support young people from especially working class and poor backgrounds. As a result, we appeal to institutions to register these NSFAS students and allow administrative processes between NSFAS and the institutions to continue and be finalized. There is also this challenge of missing middle funding. Those students who come from families who don't benefit from NSFAS, but also they are not wealthy enough to be able to comfortably support their dependents, especially through university education. This matter of the missing middle is being finalized within the comprehensive student funding model process, which I have said we're hoping to go back to Cabinet by the end of the financial year. Working within the policy framework, nevertheless, we will avail loans and bursaries and direct these efforts towards students located within the scarce skills categories. As DHET, we're going to be prioritizing students located in scarce skills arrangements, programs, but also we'll be working with our universities to say those students who are willing to acknowledge debt, much as we are still concerned about student debt, must also be admitted, hoping that it's the final now, it's the last time we do these arrangements in this way, because we are then during this year going to be having a new student funding model. Therefore, we urge everyone that we cooperate and participate, and would like to plead, please, no political grandstanding on such matters. We are here as a department, we are here as NSFAS, we are here as our institutions to work together to ensure that we have a smooth start to the new academic year. Now, on NSFAS, what I'm going to say on NSFAS must not also take away the fact that NSFAS is also planning to have its own press conference Tuesday next week to then give further details that I may not be able to cover here. But let's go. NSFAS applications for the funding for the 2023 academic year opened on the 28th of September last year and will close on the 31st of January 2023. What's the date today? 24th. So there are 7 days before NSFAS closes for applications. I must say this has been the longest that we've actually opened NSFAS applications from 28 September last year. I'm happy to report that, and this is very important, that we will be able to fund all qualifying students on the DHET bursary scheme who have been admitted for funded programs at public TVET colleges and universities in 2023. We'll be funding all those deserving, qualifying, who would have been admitted to our universities and TVET colleges. This is one of the most important commitments by this government to provide free higher education for the children of the working class and the poor. As of Friday, 20th January 2023, a total of 1,131,419 applications have been received through the scheme's online application portal, and 156,700 of these applications are from SASSA beneficiaries. Now, I don't want to take much more time, but I have to explain this. The fact that you have got 1.1 million, over 1.1 million applicants for NSFAS, and we are going possibly to be giving about 800,000 does not mean, therefore, that there is a huge gap between the applicants and those who will get. Remember, amongst those who apply are those who have not passed. So we are not going to be admitted in any case. But sometimes sections of our media, they exaggerate. It's like applications, you know. There are so many 1.6 million applications to universities, but universities is only going to be able to take 210,000 rand, 210,000 students. I'm thinking of money now that I'm talking about this one. People do not realize you always have got much more students who apply than those who pass matric to be able to go to university. That's the number we should really also be looking at. What is the difference between those we can admit and those who qualify to be admitted? The gap is very small. Much as we do not have enough spaces for a whole variety of reasons. But now, there are also those political parties who are opportunistically now trying to position themselves as if they are the best champions of admissions, as if this government has actually never admitted students. Since 1994, when this democratic government came into power, we have hugely increased the admissions of students. Yes, our infrastructure have delayed behind the demand that we have. But to actually try and opportunistically accuse this government as if it has not increased admissions, it's only just a vote-seeking tactic, frankly, rather than dealing with the reality that we are facing. All SASSA beneficiaries have received instant funding approval. So done deal as I'm speaking now. SASSA beneficiaries, they've already been approved if they've been admitted, even if they have not, by the way, provided they will be admitted, but they've been told you are approved to receive NSFAS, to study at our public universities or TVET colleges. NSFAS will release application results for those who applied for funding for the first time and returning students on the 6th of February 2023, while the funded list for continuing students has been released today. Vandaag, kajeni, basisuthu ne? Namhlanje. It is important, nevertheless, for unsuccessful applicants to NSFAS to note that they have the opportunity to appeal such NSFAS decisions by submitting relevant supporting documents between the 20th of January and the 20th of February this year. All application decisions, including the appeal option and appeal processes, will be available to applicants through the My NSFAS portal, accessible via the NSFAS website, www.nesfas.org.za. To cater for the first few months of their academic journey whilst applicants wait for their results, NSFAS, as I have said, will make upfront payments to institutions. As I indicated earlier, NSFAS is currently finalizing this upfront payment schedule for payments to universities and TVET colleges, and these will be made by the end of January. This therefore means that all NSFAS funded students will be registered by all the institutions without paying any upfront registration fee. These are the children of the working class and the poor in this country, and as government we are committing to that. Those who have applied for NSFAS funding for 2023 are encouraged to log on to their My NSFAS accounts to track their applications. The good news is that NSFAS applicants can access their application updates through a new WhatsApp line and a USSD code. You can add NSFAS on WhatsApp 078 519 8006, 078 519 8006, or dial *120 *67327. I'm not bad, DG. You know, asterisk and hash where there is, you know. *120 *67327 to track your 2023 application status. This is NSFAS's way of simplifying the lives of applicants and students. Let me also remind all those who have not applied for NSFAS, please, you still have until the 31st of January to apply for funding. As of 13 January 2023, NSFAS has deployed its staff members to institutions across the country to assist with funding-related issues, data exchange processes with institutions to ensure seamless data integration and the registration of students onto new NSFAS systems. I have also urged NSFAS to drastically improve its communications system and urgently build capacity for prompt responses to all NSFAS inquiries. Not a single NSFAS query must be left unresponded to. We have agreed with NSFAS on this. I also wish to use this opportunity to warn all those who are improperly benefiting from NSFAS to desist from doing so, as we intend to intensify chasing on them and identifying them, and we will take criminal actions against those. Siyacela laba abasebenzisa uNSFAS ngokungekho emthethweni, sizobabamba, sicela bayiyeke lo muntu. Awuzuthi usebenza kahle, uhola kahle, ulindele ukuthi umntwana wakho uzonikwa imali okufanele ngabe itholwa umndeni ohluphekayo. Sizonibamba kuzukuba mnandi. Sicela niwuyeke lo mkhuba. I have urged NSFAS, working together with our Department of Higher Education and Training, to intensify efforts in identifying all the crooks who are defrauding NSFAS and benefiting illegally from its funds. And DG, together with Chair and CEO of NSFAS, really we need to intensify this, because we are actually saving money so that it goes where it's supposed to go. With regard to the 2023 NSFAS eligibility criteria and conditions for financial aid, again, this is very important. Let me upfront indicate that we have significantly increased the TVET college's allowances for students. TVET college students studying occupational programs will be funded for the cost of tuition for the duration of the qualification. We fund you for the duration of your qualification. TVET college students who are registered on an occupational qualification may qualify for allowances only if in simulated training. It must, however, be noted that students registered on an occupational qualification that has an employment contract do not qualify for NSFAS allowances, because in the period of your employment contract, you do get paid a stipend or whatever it is. TVET college graduates will be funded for a university. This is very important. TVET college graduates will be funded for a university undergraduate qualification, regardless of the benefit that they would have derived from the application of the N+ rule at a TVET college level. In other words, now you'll be funded at college. If you decide to go to university for your first qualification, you will also be funded, provided, of course, you didn't fall foul of the N+ rule at TVET college. On academic eligibility, as of 2023, first-time entering students must achieve a course credit pass rate of 50% in order to be able to qualify to enter. As of this year, continuing university students must achieve a progressive course credit pass rate of 55%. It must also be noted that all returning university students must meet ongoing academic eligibility requirements in order to remain funded by NSFAS. It must also be noted that academic progression criteria will increase from 55% to 60% over time. Let's explain this. We are not talking about the pass mark. We are saying pass 60% of your modules in order to continue to be funded. Because we don't want to be funding people who are failing. At least do 55 or 60% pass to show that you are serious. The N+ rule for distance university students will be reviewed from 2024. So we'll deal with that during the course of this year. Let me also indicate that we have had very candid consultations engagements with the University of South Africa representing Vice-Chancellors, the South African Union of Students, the Deputy Vice-Chancellors, and registrars of universities to determine the 2023 academic progression rates in their case. On allowances, an inflation-linked increase of 5% on allowances has been effected for our universities and TVET colleges on student allowances, with the accommodation allowance increased by 7% and capped at 45,000 rand per student per annum. This year, a living allowance of 6,000 rand per annum, distributed monthly, will be introduced for the first time for our TVET college students. This is a very important, major contribution by government to TVET college students, which shows our commitment as government to ensure that we truly and systematically transform our TVET colleges into institutions of choice. We are also removing a 40-kilometer distance control requirement for TVET college students, replacing it with a more equitable assisting students who are staying beyond a 10-kilometer radius with allowances. Before it was 40 kilometers. This also applies to our universities. NSFAS will also administer allowances for TVET college students with disabilities similar to universities. The DHET disability grant for TVET colleges will also be redirected through NSFAS. Additionally, NSFAS has also embarked on regional engagements and training sessions for financial aid officers and SRCs in order to ensure that they are equipped with relevant information and training to assist students on campus during the registration period and beyond. But I do need to say that we are still engaging in particular with SAUS on the issue of student allowances, DG. Am I right? And I am allowed to say that much as we are hugely constrained in terms of our budget, but we are engaging with university students on the issue of allowances. And hopefully that we are able to finalize that matter as soon as possible. On the student-centered model and NSFAS student accommodation portal, for the past 2 years, NSFAS has made strides in its implementation of the student-centered model, and we welcome that. And two of the main initiatives aimed at this is the implementation of the NSFAS direct payment solution, better known as the NSFAS bank account, and the development of the NSFAS student accommodation portal. Now, this is very important for all students to pay close attention to. Now, listen carefully, and don't say you have not heard the minister. I hope the media is still covering us because this is important for the nation. Through the NSFAS bank account, NSFAS seeks to pay all beneficiaries' allowances directly to the beneficiary without any middleman or intermediary. Sifuna ukufaka imali ingene ngqo kwi-account yakho ingaloku ishaya uvaya somewhere. After a beneficiary has been onboarded, they will receive a card, virtual or physical, to perform most transactions as we do with mainstream bank accounts. Beneficiaries who have not been onboarded onto the new payment system are urged to sign in to enable NSFAS to pay their allowances. But let's remind each other, this is money for your studies as students. Please look after it carefully. In isiZulu kuthiwa le mali niyiphathise okweyikhali zamantombi, because they are meant, it is meant for your education and not for anything else. Angifuna ukukhuluma kakhulu la ngoba sometimes I must say I do behave like an inspector of some sort. I normally sometimes when I know it's the day NSFAS will be paying or has just paid, visit certain outlets just to see who is buying there. Food outlets and other outlets that I won't mention. Some of the things that I see there, I want to say, I don't like. As a minister, as a parent. And we really want to urge our students to say, yes, you complain when we say this and say you are adults, we mustn't tell you. We have to tell you because we have a responsibility to ensure that this money goes to where it is supposed to go to. On student accommodation, NSFAS I'm talking about, NSFAS student accommodation. There is a shortage of over 400,000 beds for student accommodation for public universities, with rural-based universities, for public universities and TVET colleges, with rural-based universities and TVET colleges being the most affected. The shortage of student accommodation exposes students to immense vulnerabilities such as serious crimes and gender-based violence. Some students stay in facilities that are unconducive to performance in their academic work. Although I must qualify, by the way, GBV does not only happen where there is no safe accommodation. Even in the safest of accommodation, sometimes this scourge confronts us because it is often people that are very close to women that actually abuse them. But nevertheless, we hope that it will contribute to managing gender-based violence if we've got decent accommodation. To address this challenge of student accommodation, our department and its entity, the NSFAS, will employ the allocated budget for infrastructure and student accommodation to partner with investors and property developers to stimulate the rapid construction of university residences in a manner that will enable the state to eventually own and control these assets. However, university or college-owned accommodation alone, we don't have enough money as government to be able to build that as fast as we'll and in the numbers that are required. We must be open. That is why we are entering into public-private partnership with accommodation, student accommodation providers within the framework and the guidelines that we've provided. And I have now said NSFAS must actively get into this space because last year alone, NSFAS spent 11 billion rands in 1 year in supporting student accommodation. So NSFAS must have a say in these arrangements that are being made. It can't just be institutions alone. It can't just be institutions alone, but NSFAS and my department must be part or in entering in these arrangements. And on that, I am not shifting. That is what I expect to actually happen. Whilst NSFAS processes are underway, all institutions will apply their own existing processes to allocate accommodation, which includes both universities and TVET colleges. The new reforms by NSFAS will not apply in this current registration period. NSFAS will give institutions 3 months' notice prior to the implementation of the new accommodation dispensation. It must be noted that NSFAS opened the new accommodation portal on the 9th of December 2022, and 44 accreditation agents were appointed to start with the accreditation of accommodation because we don't want substandard accommodation for our students. Since the opening of the portal, there are at 1,120 accommodation providers that have applied on the site, with 574,272 beds listed. I therefore want to urge institutions and private accommodation providers to continue to apply for accreditation in the NSFAS portal. Moving towards ending, I know there is a huge demand for postgraduate studies. Some of the changes we've made now, we've said to the National Research Fund, when you allocate postgraduate funding, prioritize former NSFAS students. But being a former NSFAS student does not mean you get automatically admitted to postgraduate program. We have to meet the minimum entry requirements. As far as I know, DM, you can't enter a postgraduate program if you have gotten less than 60% in many instances. And that requirement that is required is also international standards. So sometimes students feel that I'll get 51% because I was a NSFAS beneficiary, I'm then going to be supported for postgraduate. First, you must be admitted. And that amount of money is not yet enough to be able to cover all postgraduate students. But we are prioritizing NSFAS beneficiary. In conclusion, let me thank all stakeholders within the post-school education and training sector with whom we have been consulting in preparation for the 2023 academic year. These include the South African Union of Students, the South African TVET Students Association, the South African Principals, College Principals. It's SAPCO now. It's no longer SACPO. Before it was easy for me to call it SACP-O. Now they are SAPCO. The college principals, we've consulted with them, the vice chancellors through USAF, and all the trade unions. Thank you very much for the guidance and support that you continue to provide to my department, all of you as stakeholders in our sector and role players. I also wish to thank our Deputy Minister, Mr. Putimanamela, for always be next to me as we drive this program of higher education and training forward. Let me also thank my Director General, Dr. Nkosinathi Sishi, all the DDGs and the entire DHET team. Also let me thank Mr. Kosa and Mr. Nongogo, the Chair and CEO of NSFAS respectively, Professor Ramnik, Alwalia. I'm better now even maybe than your wife in pronouncing your surname, you know? For the good work, by the way, that we are doing with Higher Health. We are very proud of the work that you are doing. And lastly, of course, but not the least, my real appreciation and gratitude goes to President Cyril Ramaphosa and all my cabinet colleagues who unflinchingly are supporting us through the growth as well as tackling the challenges facing our very dynamic sector. Thanks to the parents as well. We normally forget about them. We do need you, by the way, now and again to be closer. The fact that now you say that your students are adults does not mean that we do not need to interact with you so that you know exactly what is going on, but not only that, so that we also get your own views and suggestions. May all our institutions and initiatives have a successful 2023 academic year. Thank you very much.
Well, DG, I was about to join you in the clapping of hands for the minister. Unfortunately, we are in a media briefing. It will be self-gratification, of some sort. But thank you very much, Minister, for the extensive